2015 election is very, very important. And your decision will be a critical decision as you decide Angola's future. So I invite everyone to listen very carefully, pay attention, and make your determination, not only based on debates, but also based on your interaction with persons as they come to you in the community, the house-to-house visits. Don't be afraid to challenge any candidate on any issue that you think is important for Angola. Let your voice be heard. Again, I say welcome and thank you for having me this evening.
Good afternoon and good evening to everyone being here, for those who are listening on radio throughout Angola, those throughout St. Martin's, St. Thomas, the US, Europe, back throughout the world. I want to say thank you so much for the attention you paid and over this debate over the last week. We have 6 up to date, today is number 7. And for me it's an honor to be here as the representative for West End, or for District 7, representing the Angola United Front in the next general election 2015. I want to applaud the debating society of the Albina Lake Arch Comprehensive School and their efforts, teachers, and all responsible. I see myself here tonight presenting to you as someone who is about the future, someone about now. I think quite often we look to history or look to the past, but too often we tend to do that to find excuses or to blame others. But I see this as an opportunity, especially in the youth model, that this is how we look to move forward in a positive attitude. I wish all the best to my colleague tonight. Hope that things go well. And again, thank you all for coming out. And those listening in, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
First, please tell us what makes you ready and qualified to serve the people of District 7.
I have spent about 5-6 years perhaps. I left Angola at the end of 2005 and I went abroad to study in the field of law. I returned to Angola in 2011. Since then, I joined the chambers of Cardigan chambers and I currently practice law in the field of criminal, civil, matrimonial, company. And apart from being a lawyer, I do know the people of West End. I know the struggle they have been through. I myself have been through it. I was able to overcome it. I can connect with my district. I can say to them, look, I know what you're going through. Don't worry. I know how to overcome it with you. We can get through it together. So I have a connection with my district as well. Also, being a younger person in the political arena, I believe it gives me the ability to connect more with the youth. I do believe that our youth are not heard. They are all, most times, taken for granted. And they can offer much to Angola society. I would say to the youth, I am here for you, and I will be listening to you, and I will be your voice within this political arena. I will be the one to say, hello, the youth has a voice. I will be the one to be there standing in the gap for you. So I am here on behalf of the youth as well. I believe I am well-rounded. I have worked with the Angola Tourist Board in New York for about a year and a half. I have had the ability to represent my country and District 7 on a whole. So I believe I am well qualified. I do have connections, and I can make it happen for my district and Angola with the Angola United Movement.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. What makes you qualified? I think from the age of 9, when I first represented the Western Primary School, spelling bee, and the same year I made my debut in the Junior League team. Going back to those days, I lived the struggles. I know the people in Western say that times are hard because I lived hard times. I was fortunate enough to go to England at the age of 15. And there, the love of cricket that I had as a youngster growing up here afforded me the opportunity to play at the highest level, to play for the Hampshire County Cricket Club for 15 years as a professional. When you play a sport, you think that it's about you, but in Slough and throughout England, I realized it wasn't just about me. would say that Anguilla, they do play cricket there. Regarding the youth, when I came back to Anguilla, back in '88, that's when I first came back. They went to England in '76, first came back in '88. The number of people that came to the park to watch me play because they were proud. A number of people from West End, people I grew up with, some players who hadn't played for a while, they were there. I've lived over the last 23 years back here in Anguilla, back home in Anguilla. I've worked with a number of youth in sports, and I've seen a lot of them develop. In West End, I've honored 48 pioneers to tell them, their families in Anguilla, that our national sport, our representatives in West End, needs to be recognized. I know from my heart that I am people's first, and I do all I can to represent my people of West End.
In an October 8 article published in the Anguillan newspaper, former Chief Minister, the Honorable Mr. Alward Fleming, was quoted as saying, "The election of 2010 was a vicious election, and I feel that the people have now realized that they made a serious and fundamental mistake by putting those people, the AUM, in government." Quote. Did the AUM live up to the expectation of the Anguillan people?
Did the AUM live up to the expectations of the people of Anguilla? And I would say based on remarks that you hear, some people would say no, but I would say yes. I would say when the AUM came into office, yes, the economy was not in a good position and there was a deficit. Given the resources they had, they did quite a bit. They did not send home 30% that England was saying should go home for the civil service. They still, although there's a current scholarships, they still offer scholarships to students that are living in the area of the needs of Anguilla. So once you split the category, you will still qualify for a scholarship. Apart from the scholarship, there is still financial assistance available to students. Once you put in your application based on your need to qualify, yes, you can get financial assistance. There are projects on the ground. As much as they say there's nothing happening, there are projects such as Zemi Beach, Manoa. They are all on the ground now. Melahana has reopened. So the Anguillan United Movement has done much. And it's all here, and it is society and everyone can work together. We can do more together as a people with the Anguillan United Movement.
I think expectations is relative. If your expectations are low, then yes. But if they're high, I would say no. I think we could say that it was batted around that 300 civil servants were told that they had to go home. British said this to the government. We yet to see that in writing. But what I'd say is that it's good to see that the civil servants didn't go home. But over 175 employees at Capsuluka went home. My Yohana closed that. And also, although Richardson mentioned that Malahana was open, it actually was closed under the AUM. So for quite some time there, a number of Anguillians went home without jobs. In fact, we struggled to find jobs ever since. The Zemi Beach project, that again was an initiative of the AUM. So I would say that the expectations are low of the AUM, of the government as it is, then I would say yes, that is what was expected. But for me, I think a lot more was expected. I believe the people of Anguilla in 2010 voted against something rather than for something. I think it was a vote against United Front rather than voting for their future, for their children. And I believe that the decision that the people made in 2010 was the wrong one. I think you'll also find that some of the negotiations, again I go back to Capsuluka, that was a situation where we got it totally wrong. In fact, it was said that the MOA was used against Adamara. In fact, it was used against, the AUM used it against the people of Anguilla because what turned out the MOU has worked against the people of Anguilla. So my expectations would say it was too low.
Only to say briefly, Madam Moderator. Yes, Melahana was closed, and if you look on the bright side, Melahana has been reopened. So there are jobs now for the people of Anguilla.
Mrs. Dora Bryan of West End penned the song "We're Out to Build a New Anguilla." This song became a visionary song for many Anguillians. The question is this a new Anguilla? And is this a better Anguilla?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Is it better? There are some challenges, and lots of challenges ahead of us. The future suggests that things should be better, but we know that today we are struggling. We're struggling socially as a people. We're not supporting each other as much, and I think peace of mind determines exactly whether or not you're in a better state. And I don't think that is really the case right now. Sure, more Anguillans are being able to stay at home, and families are being able to stay together because of employment. But also with that, it means that there's a lot of fragmentation within the homes as well. Too many of our mothers have to work 2 or 3 jobs simply because the pay is too low. So that is not a better idea. You know, I would go back to the revolutionary days, back in 1969. I remember going to the old police station at the age of 8 with my aunt. When the call came out for women and children on the front line, as an 8-year-old, I was there with my flag. And what I would say is that to people like my aunt at home tonight, we deserve to have a better Anguilla for people like them. I remember my aunt, 7 months pregnant, going to the South Park. Today, she's at home. She's worked at Cook Council for 26 years. When she left with the last pay packet. This is not a better Anguilla. But how are we going to move forward? We need to move forward together in a positive manner. The past or the history is there for us to learn from. But what we do from here goes forward determines whether or not we will have a better Anguilla.
Madam Moderator, the song written about 1967 during the Revolutionary period, considering what was happening at that time, I would say that the writer of the song was very much interested in what was happening. She was looking forward to Anguilla, not moving forward under the supervision of someone else, but Anguilla growing as an independent country, being able to rely upon one another and to live together. If it is that we're speaking with regards to have we moved forward to a better Anguilla, independently being able to govern ourselves, at the moment we are not in that position. If we're speaking with regards to advancement in technology, with regards to electricity, paved roads, we have come a long way. So in that sense, it is a better Anguilla. If it is with regards to the camaraderie of the people, the determination of the people, it's not the same as it was in 1967. Now, I wasn't here in 1967, but I can only imagine if our people were able to come together and do what they did in 1967 to ensure that there is an Anguilla, then I would say no, at this point, we are not at the same stage. I think, Madam Moderator, that there is a division between the people of Anguilla and the government. It's sad to say, I don't like it. I would hope that one day that division can be ended, and we as a people come together to in fact move forward to build an even better Anguilla for the youth of Anguilla and for all Anguillians. Thank you.
What does it say about a system of government that District 7 has not had a representative in the House of Assembly for almost 2 years?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Doesn't say positive about the system. But how I see it though is that in District 7, the people went out and voted for Mr. Walker Richardson. And he didn't do it alone. He had a lot of support. The government, though, I felt have neglected District 7 over the last 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. Not a lot has happened. You cannot point to anything in District 7 that you would say, we're proud to say we've got a representative in District 7 or from District 7. Without District 7, without Mr. Walker Richardson in government, the AUM could not have formed the government. Not on their own anyway. So I think it is a crying shame that District 7 has been neglected. Mr. Walker Richardson has been ill for some time, so it's not his fault. We have to look to his teammates, and that's why what we do today and what we do going forward, it's not just about self, it's about doing it as a team. And I think his team has let him down, and they've also let the people of District 7 down. When I say team, I'm talking about the people as well, who went around and persuaded the electorate in District 7 to vote for Mr. Walker Richardson. I've got a team behind me, and that team, if I'm not around, that team will be there to answer the call of the people. What is unfortunate, and sadly unfortunate right now, is that the people in District 7 don't seem to have anyone to turn to, not on the government side anyway. But I've been criticized for helping my people in District 7. In fact, because I'm running for office, but I've been helping the people in District 7 and throughout Angola for the past 23 years. Elected or not, I will always represent my people. I will always do the best that I can because in my years as well, people have helped me. But right now, there's no help for the people of District 7 from the government or the people that supported Walker Richardson.
Madam Moderator, it is the unfortunate that our Representative Mr. Richardson is ill. We all know the circumstances, and we aren't happy that this has happened. However, Madam Moderator, Mr. Richardson is still an elected member of the House of Assembly. He has resigned as minister, but he is still an elected member of the House of Assembly, and his vote still counts. Secondly, Madam Moderator, I must say that this isn't the first time that something has happened like this. If we look back, we will recognize that our past chief minister, Mr. Oswald Fleming, he too was sick at one point, and he too had to leave, and the government functioned with three ministers. We do know that this is not a new situation. It has happened before. And through it all, Madam Moderator, the people of District 7, although he is not there physically, I am sure and I know for a fact that they can still speak to him via telephone, via Skype. The technology has made it so much more easier for you to communicate. As a matter of fact, I myself do communicate with him. And I am sure if anyone wishes to contact him, he is still willing to speak to you, he is still willing to offer a helping hand in whatever way that he can. So it's unfortunate that he's not here physically, but you can still reach out to him. Thank you.
My issue is not whether or not the Honorable Walker Richardson is here or not. It is whether or not the people of District 7 feels that they're being represented. We've had a lot of shortage of water in West End, sometimes in 2 or 3 weeks. But who do they call? Who can they call? They should be able to call a representative or a minister of government or someone that asks you for their vote to put the Honorable Walker Richardson in power and get it fixed. They shouldn't be asking me.
Should Angola consider a negotiation with the British government that will allow us access to the UK through the Home Office rather than the Foreign Commonwealth Office?
Madam Moderator, the relationship between Angola and the UK is quite a unique one. Would we be able to have those negotiations conducted with the ability to listen is another question. We do know if we refer to a letter that was written by Mr. Rifkin, I believe it was in 1996. Mr. Rifkin made it abundantly clear that there was only two options for Angola. Either you go independent on your own or you remain with the situation as it is and the government will not control the power. Now with regards to the FCO, the Foreign Commonwealth Office, if that is currently the way that we operate through they govern us on behalf of the Queen. The difficulty, Madam Moderator, is whether or not the UK will be open to such negotiations. As the people of Angola, what I would say instead is that we consider putting preparations in place for us to be able to govern ourselves at this point.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The British are always available for negotiations. I think it's the manner in which you go to them that determines whether or not they will listen or whether or not they say probably too obnoxious. I think it is important. For us as Angolans, in fact everybody for that matter, from a very early stage, we all think of wanting to go independent. I think even if we're growing up in our family homes, we want the day where we can feel that we can rule among roost. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that should be the objective of all activities. I'd love to think that in my lifetime that we'll see that happen. I think it's very important, though, that it's a case of how we go about it. I think that too often, I think for the sake of a few, we want to make decisions that only governs them. It's a situation where it has to govern all the people of Angola, or the majority of the people of Angola. Going through the foreign Commonwealth office, but instead going through the Home Office, again, as I said, the British are always willing to listen to what side of the story we have, so that they can make a decision. They will not keep us against our will. It is entirely up to us to take the case to them, and we'll see what will happen from there.
Among our school-age children, violent acts occasionally occur. What steps would you take to mitigate against violent acts involving our school-age children?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I suppose most of the violence in the youth, the school age, centers around boys. Almost as if the hormones are there that suggest they want to run, jump, play. I think we have to look at the reasons, whether it's the diet, the home life. I think starting with the diet. It is very important. We see with youngsters, if there's too much sugar in the diet, it makes them very hyper. The home life, the chances are maybe there is some issues there that socially we all need to look at, to have an understanding of the youth as to why they might take that violent path. We know that what that leads to. I think too often what we see here in Angola, we talk about a situation with the gun violence that I suppose has escalated over a period of time. What seems simple in primary schools, where bullying takes place, and then into high school and gangs where there is groupings of gangs, the peer pressure that's involved. I think these are all the things we need to look at. We have to pay much more attention to the youth. We need to give them alternatives. If those who are afraid to go home for whatever reason, those who are not having enough at home, we need to pay attention to all of that. So, but for the youth, again, as I said, it is important we understand the challenges that we're facing, and the best way to go about it is to actually sit and talk to them. And not just talk, but find some time to listen to what the challenges and issues are.
Madam Moderator, I would agree that of course we need to find the root cause of these problems. What exactly is making our school-age children act out the way that they do? And of course, one of the best ways to figure that out is to have that conversation. Most families don't have that some form of conversation with their children. Instead, the children are left to have iPads or phones, and the conversation between the parent and child just doesn't happen. So yes, the home has a role to play. With regards to how well set help the youth, there needs to be in place some form of support group as well. Support group for our children, where they can come, where we have counselors, and can discuss with them, okay, what is the problem? How can I help you? Allow the children to have an area to release or to speak and say exactly what it is. Because once we know what it is, we can tackle it. I believe my colleague was referring to having additional things for them to do. And what I would agree, if this is the way it was going down, of course we do need more activities for our children, whether it be more playing fields, where they can go and play football, play cricket, basketball, whatever other sports that they are interested in, as long as it's available for them. As long as there are coaches to assist them along the way, I am sure it will help with the violence. Thank you.
I agree 100%. I think one of the challenges that we face here in Angola is you can have playing fields, you can have basketball courts, but as Richardson Cardigan mentioned, it is important to have the mentorship. We need to have coaches. I think we need centers. We need to have social clubs, social centers within the districts. And I think with that, you'll find that there is that mentorship. If it's lacking at home, the chances are, maybe at home, the parents, as I mentioned earlier, might be a single mother who's working 2 or 3 jobs. So it means the child is very vulnerable. So as a community, this is where we can actually assist.
Teachers who have been assisting for several years have noted the vast changes in behavior of our children behavioural problems once found only in secondary students are now found among primary students. Where have we gone as a nation?
Madam Moderator, as a nation, yes, we have all faith. Where? It begins at home. The children spend much of the time at home. The parents aren't at home to help with the guiding and to help with teaching. Then, of course, there will be the lack of support, the lack of encouragement that they need. And they may look to other forms of entertainment, such as the television or like that. Not that they are being totally bad, but the things that you can learn on it may not help the students. And so they may be learning from other sources as opposed to the main source being their parents. Additionally, as a society, we all have an obligation. We all have an obligation to look out for the students in our society. As teachers, we all have a role to play as well. Because once we recognize that a student's behavior is changing, I would say, although it's not your duty, as a parent, if you are, as a teacher, then of course you too, being concerned, may want to reach out to either your head teacher and say, well, this is the case, and then find that parent. Because the parent will be the one to say, well, this is happening at home, maybe that is affecting the child. If you don't know what's affecting the child, then you won't know how to solve the problem. So as a society, we too have a role to play, whether it's a teacher in the classroom or whether it's just walking by. I heard stories of walking going on, so I don't know much of it myself. But I do know that once upon a time, other parents, other people in the community, they as well played the role of a mother for children. So when you pass by and you don't even say something as simple as good morning, they will bring you right. We need that form of behavior to come back amongst our society members as well as for everyone to be involved, including the church. Thank you.
I think that Ms. Richardson had a bit of a script on that one. I think though that there's an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm pleased to say that I came from that era, that village to raise a child and to raise me. Without a mother who was in England, a father who was at times was hardly there, but I never felt as if I was wanting for anything, because as Ms. Richardson Harrigan pointed out, that support system was there. Times have changed, and I think, to answer your question, the early exposure, in fact the youth today, the very younger today, are far more advanced than we were at the age of 20. And it's not necessarily for the better. And also the disciplines. I know there's an issue regarding corporal punishment. I think that, again, being brought up in that era, it was a deterrent. Although at times we probably felt that it was times of use, but I think the majority of it was done for the betterment of the child. Today, though, the challenges are that from a very young age, our children are exposed to, I suppose, on television, on videos, on the internet, language, and also film that probably corrupts the mind at too early an age. And with that, I think it makes it very difficult for parents. Again, growing up in a household where the grandmother was at home. The grandmother is the best babysitter you can have. Nowadays, the grandmother is actually out working the night shift as well. So all that is lacking in our development. So the early exposure, too early exposure to things that are not for the betterment of the youth is actually hurting our society.
The question is, when we consider the arid climate and lowlands of rainfall, isn't the farming or agriculture industry in Angola and misuse of land, funds, and human resource?
Well, I think over the last month or so, we've had about more rainfall than whatever we've had for the past 50 years that I've been. But the thing is, with modern technology, even if it's in low rainfall, that is no reason or excuse for us not still to grow our crops. I think with desalination plants, I think that is important. In fact, for us going forward in Angola, we have to be able to feed ourselves. And in fact, that too much is actually important. And growing up, there was probably less rainfall, but there was always plenty to eat back then. It is just a case today, I think, of us making that decision that if we want to go into farming, we have to do what it takes. In fact, I think you'll find in the bottom there, or even in West End, I've seen that where you can have a water that is transported to your crops. And I think in that case, there's no excuse for us today that despite the fact that we're regarded as a climate or an area of the Caribbean where the rainfall is low, it still doesn't mean that we should now put more emphasis in making sure that we can grow more crops and actually form a business for a number of our young entrepreneurs. Thank you.
With regards to agriculture, it is never a misuse of land or finances if we are growing our own crops. And I say this simply because, yes, we have a hot climate, but as we said, we have lots of rain recently. Apart from that, crop growing agriculture is seasonal from what I understand. It is quite seasonal, and certain crops will grow better at certain times of the year. There's a farmers association, and there is also an agricultural department. I know of a number of farmers that produce enough crops that they can sell, and this isn't something that just started since we had rain. This is an ongoing situation. Our old grandparents and great-grandparents, they grew their crops to feed themselves, and I'm sure it would have been dry back then. It would have been little rain at times as well. But once you have a farmers association, which I think is a very good idea, in conjunction with the agricultural department, you can find out which crops grow best at what time, and you produce the crops you need to grow. And hopefully one day we can have that kind of commitment to each other and contributions that we can grow enough that we can sell to Angola as opposed to importing crops from overseas.
Island Harbour and Sandy Pond have excellent historic sites and wonderful beaches, yet have attracted no major tourism projects. Has this government and previous governments caused the rest of the island to suffer in their zeal to develop the West End area?
I hope this is a trick question because of course West End we know is the bread basket of the island. Most of the hotels are located in West End, I would say maybe because the waters around us are so much, well, they are in such a way that it's more attractive to tourists. Be that as it may go back moderator, previous governments perhaps they did not focus or maybe had enough attention on the eastern end of the island or even Sandy Ground. What I will say though is that this government, in fact, started recently to development on the eastern side of the island. So there is no lack of foresight for the Angolian movement. I'm proud to see that they do have that development coming on the show sometime soon. With regards to Sandy Ground though, I do think that a bit more can be done. We do know that Sandy Ground is quite a lively place, especially during summer. We have lots of boats coming over from Samoa to the neighboring islands for the Monday, that August Monday festival that they have. So perhaps more needs to be done in the Sandy Ground area, and I am sure that government will make the necessary negotiations where they need to consider investment in the Sandy Ground area as well, because it is quite a unique, the land itself is quite unique how it is, the pond on one side and the sea on the other. It is quite a nice place for development, and we hope to have it developed sometime in the near future.
Right. Well, in great pride, I'm happy to say that the investors that came to Angola saw the West End as the best place in Angola to put investment. I think, of course, we'd love to have all of the island developed, but again, the choice is down to the investor. I don't think that if they come to an island like Angola, they want to find positions, and in the West End, without doubt, we've got it out there. I think what's important though for us in West End is that our people in West End need to feel that they're part of the development, and that is my objective. That might not be the case in the past, but going forward, that will be my objective to make sure that with investment in West End, which Richardson-Harrigan pointed out, bread basket, our people in West End must feel as if they're part of that development as well. As regard to Sandy Ground, the Mariners was in Sandy Ground before that Sandy Ground is the best place for that. There's talk of a marina. That might be a great place for marina. That again might cause some issues. To the eastern of the island, we'll have historic sites, but as far as, again, as I said, when you're advertising and promoting to beachgoers, those who are going to stay at hotels, they saw the west end of the island as the best place to market their investment, and I'm pleased that they've decided to do that. Again, as I said, my challenge now is to make sure that our people in West End are part of that development. And it's not just about the people of West End, but the people of all of Anguilla, because West End alone is not about Anguilla.
Much is said today about developing the fishing industry. It presently contributes $20 million to the Anguillan economy. How would you further develop the fishing industry while ensuring proper management of Anguilla's marine resources?
Fishing has been part of our tradition for a number of, goes back a number of years. In fact, it was a case of, I think, West End, Sandy Ground, Island Harbor, like state claim to be the fishing capital of Anguilla. Growing up in West End, it was something that was special to us because when you feel there wasn't much to eat, there was always a fish. So whether it was roasted, fried, or even boiled. We didn't have refrigeration back then, so you had to keep it as quickly as you can, or even salted, or corn as they would say. But I think that with the waterways for north of us, we have to take advantage of that. On our own, it's quite very difficult to do it. But I think it is a case of, to improve that industry, we must be able to work in partnership with those who knows better at this point, who can advise us on exactly how we can benefit much more from the waters that has been afforded to us. One of the challenges or disappointments that I've had with our fishermen over the years is that we probably haven't worked closely enough together. In fact, this whole industry going to be much further down the road. If we ourselves, we know how to fish, we know how to dive, we know how to go out there and catch the biggest and the best of them. But unfortunately, over the years, we haven't bonded enough together. But again, as I said, my message tonight, our presentation, is not about what we should have done back then, but how we go forward. And I believe that if we are serious about it, and we better be serious about it, that we need to find a way. Help is needed, we ask for it, and we work towards making it a better industry that can bring much more finances to Anguilla.
And Madam Moderator, the fishing rate contributes so much, $20 million as you stated, and of course it is an area that we should be looking into. And when we're considering the marine resources, I think what we need to do is work with the fisheries department, have the studies conducted to determine what is available in our waters, how much water do we have around us to fish, how can we develop the area. But once we know for sure what are the dangers, what are the benefits, then we can better address the situation. So I think that requires some studies to be conducted, and I think we can do it in conjunction with the fisheries department. And of course, we will be able to develop the fishing industry because it does generate quite a large amount of money. $20 million. So that is something that we should be looking into. And I would say that those studies are crucial before we venture out into the industry.
The implementation of the interim stabilization levy as a method of bolstering government coffers has attracted much criticism. If elected, would you support the repealing of any taxes? If so, how would you make up for the shortfall in government receipts?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Madam Moderator, there is much concern and much debate going on about the interim stabilization levy. However, we do understand that it was a much needed bill at the time. I do know that some private businesses have been affected, and it's unfortunate that that has been the case. However, with regards to repealing, I believe you said any taxes, so whether it's interim stabilization levy or another tax, would be repeated at this time. And unfortunately, I have to say no one will be considering
the word interim is a bit misleading, because how long is interim? 4 or 5 years? The impression was it was meant to be for a year. But as a party, and going out in front, our intentions are that within 6 to 12 months we'll be that level. And the big question is asked, how are you going to do it? Something as simple, and it's bits and pieces, how I see it anyway, it's bits and pieces. It starts with the 27 rooms that are locked down at Capchaluca. The 5% from those rooms would yield over $600,000 per year. That's the start. And what again is important for government, and it's every government's responsibility, is that you've got to do the best you can to take as much pressure off your people as possible. Create an environment where it's investor friendly. That's what Angola is about. And with the Angola United Fund, the investors will come back because they'll have much more confidence in the Angola United Fund. So with business coming to Angola, with the fact that those rooms at Capchaluca are open, Capchaluca for a number of years has been the flagship of Angola. More people have known Capchaluca before they know about Angola. We need to get that back there. And with that in mind, the chances are that with a positive approach from the staff, from the tourist board, the chances are that Angola can move forward. The government's responsibility is not to tax people, but find a way of actually creating an environment where those who come into the island, where those who are investing in the island, can take the pressure off the people and not turn to the people to stabilize your budget.
At times, there are non-nationals and key roles throughout the public and private sector in Angola. Is this a reflection of present and previous governments' inability to have a succession plan for Angola as a whole?
Well, I think this succession plan, where I think that we fail as government, not just this current government, but previous governments. And probably it's not all about the government. It's about us as a people as well, as to whether or not we want to accept the responsibility. For instance, a lot is said about the money that ministers of government earn, but I think we really should focus on the amount of money that general managers in 5-star hotels here in Anguilla earn. In Capchaluca, Marijuana, in fact our Viceroy's on Street, Cuisinart, they're all 5-star hotels. But I don't see any Angolan general managers. A number of the people employees who work at hotels, they know the job. They know the job, but why are they not in a position? So maybe it's a combination of both. You take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. I would love to think, and again, from this point going forward, that we have Angolans, qualified Angolans, who puts their hands up and says, I want that position. But of course, the challenge is, saying you want it is not enough. You have to put the work in. And a lot of it, I'm afraid, comes with experience. And it's not necessarily experience at home, but experience overseas. So I would love to think that going forward, especially in the hotels, that we can have general managers that are professional general managers, not just general managers in Anguilla, but we general managers at any 5-star hotel anywhere in the world. And regarding the public service, I would love to think that as Anguillans, we're ambitious enough to be in a position to make the decisions that governs our future.
Madam Moderator, it is indeed very important for us to have succession plans in place. And I can say for a fact that the Angolan Budget Movement has recognized this need. And so, with current investors and current MOUs, there is a condition where we request and ask that, okay, as part of this MOU, please train someone that we know is well qualified and let them be your understudy with the core need, Madam Moderator, that they too can fulfill or take up those roles in the near future. I do know as well that there are some individuals that are well qualified and have been passed over for certain roles, and that is why too the Angolan Movement found it fit to ensure that any negotiations they have, they do recommend and they do suggest that an understudy be there to make sure that our nationals are well prepared as well as able to take up those roles. As it relates to the public sector, no nationals, I believe in most all know that there is a public vision board, there is the deputy governor and the governor, whose responsibility based on our constitution for these roles. I may apologize, I just said the lady. The lady because of my role as a lawyer. So the thing is, when we consider succession plans within the public sector, then of course there should be succession plans in place. This would be something that we would all need to reach out to the deputy governor or even the PSC and say to them, look, we are national director. We should be taking up some of these roles as well. Make sure once we go away, we are trained, and we have a number of people in Nigeria that are well trained, but they just don't get those positions. So we need to ensure that they just
Much of the electorate feels that some ministers of government do travel somewhat excessively. Do you think there should be a budget for travel in such a poor economy?
Madam Moderator, I do hear those concerns and complaints about our ministers traveling. And at times, we must wonder, well, what is the travel for? There are very important things that the ministers do have to attend. And as such, yes, there should be a budget for certain things that they should attend. That is not to say that they should jump on the plane and attend every session. No, we will need to consider what is most important, what is crucial to Anguilla, and how it will help us develop and then further take Anguilla forward. So there is a need to have a budget, because travel is important. It's not that we are in a position to govern ourselves. We aren't governing ourselves, and so there is much relation that we have, much to learn from others. There are certain meetings that are held with other ministers that will help Anguilla, it can be quite beneficial with other ministers from around the region or even internationally. So of course there should be a budget for travel, because travel may well be very important to Anguilla. And some of the things that are learned on those trips may very well help Anguilla. But the budget we should take into consideration which is more important and what will help us as a people.
Regarding too much travel, again, it is a case of whether or not it is necessary to make those trips. I think, though, that I would hate to think that ministers of government would get on a flight and go to a country or an island just because they can do that. I honestly believe that they have to, if they can go to a meeting or go to a seminar, they have to bring back some results. They have to show purpose of why they decided to make the trip. And that is what I think government's about. Of course we want to have a budget for that. But the results is an investment, I think. And if you're not getting the return on your investment, then obviously it means that a lot of those trips are not worthwhile. I would love to think, though, that whenever ministers of government or the special assistants go on these trips, it is actually beneficial to the people of Anguilla, and not that they're traveling on these trips just because they've got the ability to do so.
Every government would like to see maximum efficiency in the ministries. If elected, where would you best serve in the government?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. For me, that's an easy one. I see myself as part of a team. Sports and tourism is the area that I think I'm best qualified. Simply because for the years of being a professional cricketer, having played and lived in England, Australia, played in New Zealand, traveled throughout Asia, played in Asia, through Europe, and coming back to the Caribbean and being an ambassador for Anguilla, having traveled to a number of islands in the Caribbean where the Westerners have been playing as a commentator. I'm quite proud that as an Anguillan, the rest of the Caribbean have respected me for that. I also see myself as someone who's traveled to England again with the Commonwealth Games, to Australia, to New Delhi in India, and most recently in Glasgow, Scotland. And when you're involved in sports, as I have been, you see that there is a great need for the further development of your youth. It's given them a great opportunity to fulfill a dream. Here in Anguilla, we have some very talented athletes, but unless they give the opportunity, unless they've got the guidance, unless they have someone with the contacts, a number of the Anguillan cricketers, and I'm proud to say that, but it's Chesley Hughes, who's currently with Derbyshire. We've got 5 cricketers who are professionals now with the Levers professional team, and of course, Omari Banks, who made us all proud. Not just for his innings that spanned for 3 hours and 25 minutes, but goes down in history as someone who was part of a world record score. Regarding tourism, I've been part of a system at Capchalupa for the past 23 years. I've been a PR. PR is something that I'm quite proud of. And I feel that with Anguilla in front as the next governor, I see myself playing a key role in sports tourism, and sports tourism has a lot to play in the development of our youth.
And the reason why I asked you to repeat is because there's more than one area that I do like. And like my point is I do like tourism very well. And I think I make a really good contribution in tourism as well. However, best served, I would have to say education. I have a passion for education. I love to see when our youth do well, and they move on, they go abroad to study, and they return home to contribute to their society. There is much to be done within our education department, and I think that I can make a really good contribution there as well. So, where we would best be fitting, where we best serve, I would have to say education, as a minister of education, as opposed to any other at this time.
The question reads, today, Tuesday, 25th November, it was reported around the world that a Missouri grand jury has decided not to indict police officer Darren Wilson for the August 9 shooting of unarmed homicide teenager Michael Brown. How do you view this decision by the Missouri grand jury?
Madam Moderator, we have to say that it's an unfortunate situation and something that occurred with Mr. Brown being shot to death. However, with regards to the decision by the grand jury, of course, as a lawyer, I will have to see that we would need to know what evidence was presented. Without knowing the evidence that was presented, I can't take aside to say they made the right decision or the wrong decision. I do know that it has caused much upset amongst many of the people within Missouri and other states as well. However, with regard to the decision of the grand jury, I'm afraid I can't say whether it was a good decision or bad without knowing what evidence was presented by both sides, because the evidence will play a very big role in their decision making.
I'm glad the lawyer answered that question for me. I think what is unfortunate about it, in fact, whenever there's a case of a white policeman involved in whether beating or excessive force, I should say, or the shooting of some of a minority, especially a black person, there's always going to be uproar. I think the decision that was made today, one side was going to be left feeling as if they were hard done by, because I believe if the policeman had to stand trial, the chances of the policemen themselves might have said, listen, we've got a problem with that. So it is a difficult situation. I think unfortunately in Ferguson, there's been some heated exchanges over the years, and there's been a lack of confidence with the police, I suppose, from the community regarding the police. And whenever there's a situation like that, whether Mr. Brown was guilty or not of the crime, the chances are a number of people in the community are not happy to accept the decision today. So it is a difficult situation, and as Richardson Harrigan pointed out, an unfortunate one. Again, another situation or incident involving the gun, which again is not good, whether for us here in Angola or especially for those in the U.S. as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Today, in fact for most of the day, I was proud to be in Angola. I've always been proud to be in Angola, but even more proud today because I think life owes me some money. Because the number of phone calls that I got to wish me all the best tonight, and not just from those in my area, District 7, but throughout all of Angola. It's given me a great deal of hope that as we go forward, that we as an island, we can work together. Sitting in front of me is one of my best friends. He's on the other side. That means the AUM. But as far as we're concerned, as we're talking about Sam Webster, he's probably leading the applause tonight. And Sam and I goes back over 40 years. And politics will not divide us, whether we agree or disagree. A lot of the success that I've had as a youth on trips away, the youth especially. Sam has been there, so Sam, I thank you for that. But my team of AUFers throughout Angola, I thank you so much for the support that you've given me. And this British inheritor, I'm proud of you as well. I'm proud of the stance that you've taken for the representation of District 7. I am hoping now, because the election of District 7 elects to represent them. But what I was saying to you that I'm pleased that I love to believe that both of us have sent a message to all of the other candidates that we can work together for the betterment of Angola. Thank you so much.
Before I do begin, I would also like to say thank you to my colleague here, Mr. Khan. And it is true that after another district, we could get along very well. I do think that the block is up and we can be able to work together for the better of our country. As it relates to the youth, I want to send a message out to the youth. Do not think you are too young or you are not educated enough to take part. What you did here this evening, whether the entire political debate series, was something to be, it is quite commendable. It shows that you are in fact taking a stand and you are saying, look, this is my country too, and I want to make sure that there is an Angola for me 15 years, 20 years down the road, an Angola for generations to come. So I applaud you and I say thank you very much for having us. And I will say to you, I hope these debates continue in other elections going forward, because they make all candidates somewhat accountable. They have to come and they have to say what they're about, what they can offer to you, and you need to know. So I am very, very happy that you took the initiative and you organized these debates. I'd also like to say thank you to the teachers of Cardigan and Cardigan School who assisted the debating society with organizing these debates. I would also like to say to the other youth in general, you must go out and vote. You must go out and vote. If you want to have a say in how Angola is run, then you must vote. Because at the end of the day, if you don't cast your vote, who will you go to and say, this is what I want